Just one quick little tip when doing stuff like this. Get yourself some baggies, a little permanent marker, and label and write down a little note for all the pieces you take apart. And snap some pictures. I'll be recording everything, so I'll have some video to go back and look at. But that should help you along the way. It has been a long weekend, but we got the full downpipes out, the new downpipes in. Got the Boost Logic exhaust system completely fitted onto the car, which I'm gonna have to remove the rear sections to put in my sway bars and stuff, but that was an oversight on my part. But I'm also glad that we just got it all fitted. Everything's lined up, and you know, the tips are good and centered, you know, all that good stuff. So this is gonna be like the blow-off valve install video or uninstall video. You can't have a camera running while you do it. It's just too difficult. There's not enough space. You're tired, you know, you're frustrated. So, you know, what you get is people showing you the cats at the end where some bolts and stuff are on it and giving you as many tips as they can, you know, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm providing a couple more tips that I use that I found in comments of some other people's videos that are helpful, and then just things that I found along the way to be helpful, and you know, hopefully helps you get this job taken care of. All right, before starting the full-length downpipe install on the new Nissan Z or even the Infinitis that share the same engine, you're gonna want to gather all the resources you can, and there's not much out there that I could find anyway to help. There's a few videos on YouTube. There are, I think, 2 websites that you can grab the PDFs off of their instructions, and that's AMS and Fast Intentions, I believe, for the Infinitis. AAM has instructions, but they're only available if you contact them, which means, you know, you probably got to buy their pipes for it. I used the Q50 Q60 downpipes that Z1 sells, and I couldn't find any instructions for them. I'm not saying they don't have them, I just wasn't given any, and I don't see a resource for them on the website. But I didn't bother to call and ask them. So I used the combination of about 2, maybe 3 YouTube videos. One was Zilla Full Boost. One was... oh man, what was the other good one that I found? It was a shop. I don't remember their name, but they were doing the work on an Infiniti. I think TJ Hunt has a video as well, but it's not really a instructional video. And then there's a couple other ones that just aren't very good at all. But look around, find them all. Print out any instructions you can find, look over them well. Use this video, use the other videos. So just gather all the resources you can, watch it all, read it all, and then have fun. It's definitely a challenging experience if you do it yourself, and especially if you try doing it on jack stands. Have fun. All right, starting off this uninstall video from underneath the car. Today I'm going to attempt to remove the lower downpipes off of the car. This should be reasonably easy compared to the upper downpipes that I just don't know how I'm gonna do without a lift, but I'm gonna try. So the instructions say to loosen this bolt first, unplug the wiring harness, and then this is the driver's side. It's got 2 bolts, one here and one on the side you can't see, that is accessible from the engine bay that we'll have to get through. Yeah, I can't even get it on the camera. So that's step 1. Once you get the downpipe out, or you're ready to remove it, then this mounting bracket comes out, and possibly that one up there on the other side of that first bolt we're gonna loosen. I'll have to check back in the instructions. I can't remember exactly. And then someone else I spoke with said that they removed the steering shaft there to have better access to the upper. I'll cover all that if we end up doing it, but that's just some of my early thoughts. Alright, so I've got the mounting bracket nut loose on the driver's side and the passenger side. Next, I'm going to reach up to this bolt with a ratchet and extension. Hopefully I had to use a wrench on these because a ratchet and extension wouldn't fit. And then I'm going to have my dad feed down a 24-inch extension from the top of the car to get the reverse sided bolt up there. Because one goes down, which is this one, and one faces up towards the top of the car. So you got to get it from up top. Okay, here we are on the passenger side lower. I can't reach, my arm doesn't fit up in here to get to the, let's see if I can get the wiring harness. I don't even know if the camera can get it. It's way up past here. You just follow this green cable up to the where it clips in. My arm can't fit in there. So I'm gonna have to get the lower, like drop down to where I can fit my arm in past this O2 bung and everything. But the bolts you need to get from up top on this side is this one here, and yeah, my camera can't get in there. But if you just follow that one to the right with your hand, you'll feel where the other one is. And those are the two top ones. And then your bottom one is right up in here past my finger. You can see it looks a little wet because I sprayed everything with WD-40. But that's it for passenger side. I'm gonna go ahead and get this sucker out. So here's the O2 sensor plug. I did end up loosening all the bolts on this passenger side and then releasing it from the bracket. And I had my dad under the car with me, keeping the downpipe out of the way as much as possible, so that way I could reach up in and try to get to this plug. What kept happening to me was the spot that it mounts to the wheel well of the car, or the inner fender of the car, it kept coming out of that, so I couldn't get any leverage to unplug it. So eventually all I ended up doing was pushing in on the clip and just using the weight of the catalytic converter, by using the weight of it to just pull up on the upper clip by itself, and just kind of use this as, you know, the extra hand pulling this side, because you can't fit two hands in there. Alright, so here we are looking at the driver's side upper downpipe. There's 5 bolts holding this heat shield on. Problem is, I could not get to this one in any way. So luckily the driver's side has enough room with bending. You can't see anything because obviously it's in the car, but with bending the heat shield around the turbo, I was able to have enough room to get the V-band bolt out and remove this. It's very tedious. I mean, you're talking hours upon hours of trying to fit your hand in to get onto the nut or bolt, and whenever you do, having the leverage to break it loose and remove it. So again, luckily on the driver's side, you may be able to just attempt it without even removing any of the heat shielding, because that's what I did in the end. So all that time I spent trying to get these bolts out was kind of a waste, but it at least gave me an idea of how the passenger side was going to be. And now we'll take a look at the passenger side, because I did get all the heat shielding off of that one. So here's the heat shielding for the passenger side. It's the same setup with this piece that's removable. So, you know, we got 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. You have an extra bolt in this one. but you're able to access all 6 of them. It's even tighter than the driver's side, but I was able to access this top one on this heat shielding. And on the passenger side, you're gonna need to probably get this heat shielding out because it's just way tighter. This top one was the hardest one to get. Somehow I managed to do the camera over my armpit to reach one hand up from the right and one hand up from the left with a wrench on top and somehow break it loose. I still don't know how I done it, because once I broke it loose, I was barely able to ever get the wrench back on it to turn it again. I ended up just wiggling the heat shield and doing it all by hand. Because once you get that initial crack loose, most of them are just hand tight from that point on. It's just somehow getting the leverage to get them started. But that's how that heat shielding looks, to give you a good visual of what it looks like together and around the cat. There's one other tricky part on the passenger side. I'm gonna climb under and try to show you. Here's the driver's side. Again, it's a lot easier, more space. The only thing that gets in your way on this end is the steering column, which someone has mentioned to me they usually remove it when they do this work, and Infiniti Master Tech said that's what they usually do. I didn't want to mess with it, but if you're comfortable removing that, you can. It'll get you a lot more space and probably make this side maybe a 2-hour ordeal versus, I think I messed with it for 4 or 4.5 hours. All right, so here's the passenger side. This side's way tighter than the other side, and you definitely have to do a lot of manipulating to that forward heat shield to get room or access to the V-band clamp. And one of the tricky parts, or the tricky part I was mentioning on this side, if I can turn my body while holding the camera, is there's a bolt right here. Let me zoom in a little bit if I can. Alright, I had to stop recording to zoom, I guess, so now we're back recording. See if I can fit my arm in here again. Okay, this spot right here, coming off of the turbo, there's 2. There's another one just about, I don't know, 2 inches in front, maybe not even that far. You have to at least, in my opinion, you have to at least get this bolt out somehow so you can bend this part of the heat shield, because the clamp is right about here, facing this way, at about 2 o'clock, facing downwards. So you have to get a lot of room on the back side of that heat shield to get to that clamp. And then I'll show you how I got that bolt off, because you can barely, I don't know if you can see, but how that heat shield is kind of cupped going down into like a valley. That's where the bolt head is. You can fit a 1/4 inch ratchet in there and like break it loose, but it gets to a point where even if you break it loose and you're backing it out, that you start contacting the firewall. So you'd either get your ratchet stuck or not even get the bolt all the way out because you just run into the firewall. So I'll show you how I ended up doing it. I ended up doing it from the top, actually. Okay, so I'm going to try to take you on a little journey into the belly of the beast to show you what we've done here on this bolt coming off of the turbo. So your air box would have to be out and maybe the intercooler, I don't know. We had one person up top, one person on the bottom. So stuck my arm way down this way, up under the wastegate, and then forward to somewhere around here is where those 2 bolts are. Actually, I can see the hole, so it's definitely right here. There's one more a bit closer too, but we didn't want to fool with that one because of this cooling line right here. So anyway, we broke this loose with a 1/4 inch ratchet from underneath, and then we reached in through here using the length of a 10mm ratcheting wrench. The person underneath was holding the ratchet end of the wrench so we could keep ratcheting it, and then the person up top was just using their middle finger and index finger to just keep pushing up on it for about 10-15 minutes until we got the bolt out. But that's how we accomplished getting that one out. And that's the minimum clearance you need to get to that V-band on this side. Okay, here's the V-band clamp for position whenever I reinstalled the new downpipes. I put it facing straight down at about 9 o'clock. So that's about how it looks. And then to get onto it, I just went through the wheel well. Also, it's very helpful if you put a zip tie around the clamp. And once you have it seated, you use that to pull the clamp tight so then you can get the bolt started.